Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, we're going to take a peek at the Gmelina. I'm taking a look at the Gmelina today. So this tree is also known as the parrot's beak, and if you let your branches grow out super big and long, I don't know if it can happen in a bonsai pot, but you can get a flower on this tree that kind of resembles that of a parrot's beak, thus the name. This Gmelina has kind of webbed foot type leaves, but then they also have some rounder ones depending upon how your variety grows, I found, because I have some new growth on here that certainly has the kind of webbed foot look of a duck, kind of an ivy look, almost like even a trident maple look. So these leaves have some interesting shape in there, kind of the ziggy-zaggy there, pretty neat. But then if you look deeper into the tree, like here's a branch right here with a leaf on it that's round. So just the subtlest little hint of an indent there. So hopefully as we continue to bonsify this tree, that we will have it all be similar size and similar shapes, because that leaf is really a cool shape when it has kind of that webbed foot look, kind of that ivy look. I really like that. So this tree has been cut in several locations. We cut a branch hanging off down here and a couple right here, and they're healing over pretty nice right now. This one's healing over nice. This one's healing over nice. There's a big cut up here and big cut right there. Those are starting to heal. This is a very brittle, very stiff tree when it gets this thick for sure. There is no bending this trunk very much right here when it's this thick. So you have to get at these branches when they're kind of at this thickness range. So I'm going to take a peek at the Gmelina today, and we're going to see if we can trim it up a little bit and maybe make a major cut today. I'm not sure. And we have obviously a slanted style trunk. We have a really big root that's sticking out in the front here. One that's coming out to the side here and a bulging one right here. Here's the wire holding this tree down. We're going to have to repot this, I think, in the summer and sort out some of these roots. But this is the second full year of growth. Gmelinas were used in workshops a couple of years ago, and I bought one for myself to work on and to learn from. So we have a little bit of a slant to the left, and we have this kind of split trunk way up here, and then this divides into three right here. And you'll notice on this tree, and this is true with many trees, not all, but this one does not grow with a very nice alternating pattern. So you see how we have the main trunk here and a branch here and a branch here. Now if they were sticking straight out, they'd be a bar branch. They still are a bar branch because they're virtually right across from each other. This one's a tad bit higher, but this one's lower. So, you know, this is one of those things where, do you cut that off? Well, if I cut that off, I would have no depth in the back. But I've got this big branch right here and this newer branch right here. Maybe the back one isn't important. But what I'm going to contemplate today is whether I cut this big thick one off. And then you'll see the one in the back between the main trunk here and this here. And these would become two like primary branches off of this one. So I don't know if I want the Y look, this main trunk and then splits to a Y here, but we'll see. So let's actually spin it like I said I was going to do. This angle's a little bit nicer than head on. I think we get a little better view here of this. But then here's the side. And it's a little bit flat out here, but we see all that depth back there that I'm afraid to get rid of. And there's the side there a little bit in the corner. And then this is leaning a little bit towards us here, so it does lean away from us according to the other front over there. And there's another possible angle one day. You know, if you put the tree like this, that's not a bad angle either. Right there, that's not bad. And then here's this side. It's leaning a lot this way because of that lean that we have right there back in the front. So there's some questions on what to do to this tree because I don't know if I want to keep these two big massive trunks here, if I want to keep some more small ones. This is a really nice primary branch. This is a nice primary branch. They're very similar in height, so that's kind of a bummer. Be nice if this one was maybe a tad lower, like an eighth or quarter of an inch. And if this one stayed there, was a tad higher, you'd have a little more of that every other feel. Now this one grows. I saw some chats in some YouTube stuff recently where they're talking about branches that come out at us, like this one here and this one here. So I thought I'd talk about that tonight too, because We don't want to cut off all of these branches, this one, this one, this one, and this one perhaps, because then you have all this big gap up front. You have no thickness in your tree this way. You have this very two-dimensional flat look to your tree. And right now with this tree, I can see my trunk line all the way up. There's a little gap here with this, and then there's the trunk up here, and it's going to curve up here. You can kind of see this trunk a little bit, and this over here. So these little ones here that are almost eye pokers, this is the most eye poker, but this is curving up right here. This came up and has a nice little feel going up here. And if I cut this branch off right here, this big thick one, this would become the leader. But it comes out and then up. That's kind of an odd design for a leader on that tree right there. We've got a big cut there and an old scar right there, so I don't know what that's going to do. But if we change the angle slightly, maybe that would be something worth keeping. So you'll notice the real light green growth. I've already cut this back in the plant room once this season in the plant room. I've cut some back, and then these two decided to take off right here. These are really doing well, and this one's starting to take off as well. So these might be getting a little bit more light than over here in this section, but I still have all of this little growth. The tree is healthy and wants to grow real nice. I do really like this branch, and I'm wondering if I might put a scotch of wire on this one, or I might even do a guy wire and get this tree to come down here and swoop down. So if we swoop this down here, it has a nice split where my thumb is holding the branch right now, and then after my thumb, which is right about here, it splits into two. Let's show you that. I'm going to take this elephant out so it doesn't just fall down and create a big loud bang. But we have, there's your split into two. So it was cut right there. And there's the split into two. And then right after that split into two, here's a split into two. And here's a split into two. These split up and down, these split left to right. We kind of prefer a little more left to right, but if I go down like this, and I even twist this one like this and cut this off here, we have a nice split into two and this split over here. We've got this formation of a pad, if you will, right there. So that has some flexibility. I really should wire this now if I'm going to want this tree to have this kind of movement in it, because when it gets this thick right here, look at how stick straight that is, and that's not going to move too much. Now I do have a bit of bumps in here from former branches, and as this gets bigger and thicker, those will hide a little bit more, but there's a little bit of subtle differences in this stick straight tree that goes to the left, but we want to see more of that. So do I take off this tall section? Because look, it's tall from here all the way straight down to the bottom. That's a straight line, and then this is another straight line right here. But I think I'm either going to guy wire this down today or put some wire on it. I have not wired my Gmelinas yet. But I think this little movement here would add a nice bit of movement to this part of the trunk here. And then if I can put some wire on and curve it back up a little bit, I'd have a little movement at the bottom. But if I just go down like this, I like that so much better already. But then I have a gap right here. So I don't know if this branch can come filled in over here a little bit. There is a little bud right here. So I can get maybe a branch to come out here. If I were to cut this one down a little bit more, we'd get some light down there and have that branch come over there. But this has a nice bit of upward, over, and then up, and then it splits right here. So it has some fun movement on that one there finally, because I chopped it right there. There's the chop from the stick straight tree. And over time, all these little bumps and bruises here will heal. Now this one that's growing up has a stick straight section that I left on purpose after my last little chop right there. And this one here is coming more at us again. So I can either chop down this straight section, because look, from here to here is stick straight again, almost like this chopstick, right? Look at that straight section. So if I cut it back down to here, I've got this branch coming out towards the camera a little bit, and then back a little bit towards the tree, and then this one now is coming back this way. I've got a little bit of subtle curve in there. And if we do twist this tree at all in the future, now that's right at us. If I go back this way, we can kind of see the curve of that branch. And here's the other big chop to get rid of this straight section to have growth here. Well, you'll see I've got a little bit of a stick straight up tree right there, and I've got this main branch right here. This is forming the new curve of that branch. I don't think I'll keep this one. I probably will keep that main branch there. This is also a bendable branch. So if I can get something like that going, we have a little bit of outward mobility here with these trees to show growth or show age with a big thick branch moving out and starting to weep down a little bit. That leaves the top a little bit discombobulated, but we have a lot of growth back here. Again, we're going to be cutting some of that back. and we'll see where we want this to go in the future. So the question is, if I were to bring this down with a guy wire or just a wire, if I wire these two branches together today, that might be a good thing to do because they're about the same size. Then what do I do with this back here? Do I leave it and cut the back one off? Or do I cut this off completely and we stay with that back branch back there? But that back branch is also going way that way. It's not going up as much, so I don't know if we'll be able to see it. But I could tilt the tree this way a little bit more as well. So see if I repot this one this way. If I go ahead and put my little hammer down here, this might be a little bit better angle on this tree. But now if I angle it this way, which is the way it should be because it's more straight up and down and leaning forward, then this back branch becomes a better looking branch than this real thick one. Then it has a great big Y here though, or a U shape. But in time, maybe another branch would grow to get rid of some of that feel of that branch. And then I'd have to decide about this one and this one. So let's look at it from this side now. What if this was the front? So this is in the way right now. But again, if we take a branch and go like this, that has some possible movement to make this a better looking tree. This tree shows off a little bit better design of the tree than the other direction actually. I like how we see this trunk and the way it moves, it seems to be better, but then this one comes right in our face. But look at how we have this branch growing this way now, the one I wanted to move. We can do that with this over here. Now we've got this branch now growing off to the left and this one going stick straight. But if I cut this one off right here and chop it pretty heavily, then maybe I have that as the new primary branch. Some tough decisions here. Not sure what to do. And if I do lower this down like this over here and kind of get out of the way, does this look good anymore at all? Or, it's not horrible? I just don't know which one I want to keep. So that is the possible front, angled more like this, or this one, angled more like that. Got some thinking to do for sure. I have to say, this has been a tough decision. I usually have been seen in some of my videos just chopping pretty quick, and I've even had people comment at how fast I've made some decisions and how brave people have said that I am. This one's taken a while. I had to turn the camera off and just stop and think and spin it a couple of dozen times. And if I look at individual sections, these three gotta change. No matter what I do with wiring, these three gotta change. I've got thin, thin, thick. This is that straight line section that's just not as promising. I think we're going to cut that one off. No matter what I do with the tree here, big cut, there it is. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to see if I can clean that up as much as possible. That is going to form a bit of a U scar. We want it to be as smooth as possible here. A little bit harder to get in this one here. There we go. It's not too bad. Might have to play with that a little bit more. But there we have this big straight trunk. So look at how straight that is. Look at, here's my chopstick, and look at how straight that is. That had to go. And so we took it away. If we bend this tree back down here, and this one is allowed to stay growing this way. I've got a branch coming right here up. It can come up here and curve up here and fill up this space. So I still might bring this down. It hides the scar a little bit. I still want to clean some of that out though. That's better. Right there, that was better. Always nice to have big enough tools to do this. Big ones for the little bit bigger cuts. Little ones to get into those little tight places. That's a little bit better right there. So we have our wound in there, but it's cut much nicer. And that will heal over time, and those will look like two branches. Oh, I scraped a little bit right there too. Got to be careful. Got a little scrape there. Okay, let's get that hammer back out here. So if that becomes a new front, it's not quite as slanted, so we have to be careful where we're going to do that. This could come down here so we can see this branch right here. And we'll cut the downward facing branch, and we'll let this one come up here and this come up over here. This will be a nice split, okay? So if we're going to do that, let's look at that branch now. So this branch right here, so again, this tree grows very opposite. So as I mentioned, we would probably cut this one off right here. And then here's our every other. We've got a branch over here. We want a branch over here, which is going to be this one someday. These sets of leaves right here could be our next branch. It comes way up here and then kind of moves to the right here a little bit, way away far from that one. I think I'm going to go ahead and slow this guy down and cut it off. Oops, and the lights are turning off. So there, now when we look at this through this lens here and we bring this branch down, our new branch goes this way. I cut it off so we have taper. Here's the new branch that can grow. There's 3 or 4 leaves right in here. This can grow out in this way, and we'll see where it grows. We'll take the best branch later. There's one even out back here. And there's this branch back here that's growing out this way a little bit. Then it curves this way already, which is super nice. And then if I want to make sure it continues to curve to the right, I get rid of this branch right there. I get rid of this stump right here. There we go. And this branch even right there. There we go. This bottom leaf right here. And there we go. We've got our movement for that little section. So we got rid of that thick section, and we got rid of that branch there. Now, this branch is a little bit thinner than the one I cut off. We want them to be similar in size. But if I wire this down, we got this branch that's a little bit long. I'm going to cut that off for the moment. And I like how we have every other right here. Boom, boom, and then it comes over here. But I think we're going to cut this one off right here. Now we have this nice branch right here. Whether I wire it or not, I've got a branch coming a little bit out towards us, but if I bring it back this way, we have that little bit of a form of kind of almost like a pad, and these two are not opposite of each other anymore. So we're going to do that right there. Okay, we'll leave that for dieback. And there's that side of the tree. We just took off a big section of that tree. So let's move on over to that right side now. Now again, this tree was thick and relatively straight. If we look at it as this of the front, this isn't too bad either, coming out as a little bit in our face though, but now you can see this branch over here. I might wire this one this way if this is the front, just give it a little bit of movement. But I think I'm liking this better with this as a future back-filling branch back here, and this comes right over here. So now we have this straight section to think about. And this part comes right in our face. But there's a nice branch behind here, as you remember that with this as the front, it goes towards us and moves up. So what if we spin the tree around and use that as our new leader, and we cut this tree even further back? Now, if I cut this right here, that's going to be a really big scar, and that's going to take a long time to heal. So do I want to make that drastic of a cut right now? Earlier the better, because it'll have more time to heal. And here's the other thing to think about. If I have thick to here, a little thinner in here, and then thinner yet, that's not a ton of taper. But if I were to cut some of these branches off or let these go and let these thicken up down here, I'm afraid that would thicken up too. So I could at least cut off this top section. And I think I'll do that. We're going to go one section shorter. Here we go. There we go. So that had a little bit of movement. And if we look from the old front, there it is. Now it's a scar on this side, if this would be the front. And we're going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit for the future. All right. So this is the sacrifice we need to make to think about the future of the tree. I was watching my YouTube friend Nigel Saunders over there in the Bonsai Zone, and he just cut a tree really, really heavy back, and he was hemming and hawing about what to do, and he said something that was so important, I think, in bonsai. You know, he didn't say that we can't have a tree overnight, but that's basically what's going on here, right? I'm making these cuts now that for about 4 or 5 years down the road, it's going to look really, really good. So right now we have a tree that still resembles a bit of a tree. I've got this big growth here still. And I cut this section right here now. So if we were to go like this, but then this still comes up and out at us. So I just don't like that. And it's too long of a straight section. So though this is going to create a bit of a scar, I think I want to cut this off right here. I think I want to cut this right there, and we'll let this fun branch curve back to the back, up back towards the viewer, and become the new canopy of this tree, plus whatever we have with these possible branches, and this coming down here. It's just going to be a really big scar, but so are these at one point, and this one's almost completely healed over as far as the center portion. This one still needs more time, that needs more time. There's not many scars right here until the very tippy top, and some of these branches might grow out and we might lose that scar in time. Big decision. Big decision. Here we go. Ooh, how many gasps were out there, huh? Look at that next section of the tree. And there we have our new gash. We're going to clean that sore up. There. And I will be putting cut paste on that one. You could put some Elmer's glue on there. I've got some cut paste. We're going to fix that up. So now when we spin this tree around, look at that little tree we have now. Even from this side, it's not so bad. Remember I said this is coming out at us, then going back? This was one of my original thoughts, and this can provide some back here. That's not bad either. And if this is the front, we just have to look at a scar for a long time. So we can look at the tree this way for a lot longer. This was the original front with the slant right here. And if I bring this down, we've got a tree that's not so bad. We can trim this one back just a little bit. So I will do that just a little bit. We're going to get this branch that's growing. There's a little stub from before. We'll get rid of that one. And if I were to bring this down, this one would still go. So let's go ahead and cut this one off. Right there. And of course, some of these downward facing ones we can just pull off, or side ones that we don't want for sure. So there we have a possible wire, guy wire down right here. And this is a primary branch, and this becomes the new main trunk. You see we have a new bud right there. This could split into two and fill up real nicely. And now we have thick, to about here where it splits, and then we have thinner, and then thinner yet on this one, thinner up here, thinner here. So it does have a little bit more movement in that way, and I think we're in decent shape. Now these two are growing vertical of each other, and if we do wire, we're going to want to get rid of this one here in favor of the one on top. And now we have that nice split right there, and we'll see what that does. And there's a split up here too. So I like this branch. We're just going to leave it right here. And in the future, if you can see this right here, in the future, if we don't want any of this branch to cut it way back, we've got this branch and this branch, but look at this one right here. This could become a new leader if we wanted to. We'd have to cut this out much deeper so this would get some more sun. Right now it gets some sun on this side, so we're okay. We could even pluck off a couple of leaves right above it. And now it's going to get some sun as this one kind of comes out front. And there we go. This could take off as a new potential leader, and we cut this here if this gets too straight. But right now it does have a little bit of curve, and if I do guy wire it here, it's going to have a curve from the trunk. And I think this one already is just a tad long, and this one is a tad long. We're just going to shorten those two up. All right, there we go. Little stub. We have an interesting branch here growing down. I'm just going to take that off right there. It's kind of part of the old cut here. There's kind of a bruise right here. We're just going to clean that up. There we go. Because again, we may not keep this one. We might keep these two. But if this can go this way, or we'll see what happens after all of this work on this tree. So now I've gotten rid of a big part of the problem in this tree, in my opinion. It was too straight up and down with these two big sections right here, and we cut those back. Now that's a big scar. Let's get some cut paste on there. We're using a little cut paste here. This is what's, you know, quote unquote, the good stuff from Japan. That you can't read the label on it. But you order it because, oh, it's from Japan, it's going to be better, right? I don't know. But I have some. It's lasted me a really long time. I've had this jar, or this little tube, for about 3 years, and look at how thick it still is. There's plenty left for me. So there's the cut there. Let's put some right here as well. Not as much of an eyesore when you don't see the bright white. And there we have our new little Gmelina. It's time to do a little guy wiring. So I want to put the guy wire out here, and I want to bend it down more towards this way. So I'm just going to wrap it around the tree here, or the pot rather, so it goes down to the bottom of the pot, and it'll just sit there from there. Now I can twist it up here from underneath the pot if I want to. I could do that, or I can twist it underneath. So I think I'm going to try it this way. No, I'm going to try it the other way, and here's why. So if you've heard any chatter online or with people, a lot of people use inner tube tires when they maybe, and I've used these too, in covered branches and trunks up so you don't scar the trunks. But sometimes if there's any chemicals in this inner tube material, if there's any chemicals that might damage your trunks or your roots and cause little problems, that could be an issue. So rather than some inner tube this time, I'm going to go ahead and use some fish tank hose that I have left over hanging around. So I have a nice clear inner tube, or rather fish tube, and we're going to go ahead and put that right over this right here. Okay, and then if I bring this over this tree right here, and there's the branch it's going to cradle on, we're going to go like this. Okay, so I'm going to bring this underneath, under the back side here. And in order to get some leverage, I'm going to twist on the side. So I'm going to straighten this up and go a little bit further up here. This is some really nice copper wire. I have a lot of this size and don't do a lot of wiring, so I'm deciding to use this as my wire to get a really good solid fit. Okay, so there's the wire. And I'm going to go ahead and start twisting right about here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off the extra. I don't think I'm going to need that much extra. So there we go. And I already have it down a little bit. Now if I want it down more, we're just going to pull it from both sides, the bottom and the top here, and there I just pulled it down. Okay? And then I just need my pliers, and we're going to go ahead and twist it together on the pot to create that tension. And there it stays. So now I have this branch curving down over here a little bit, and it's being pulled right there. And I have to be careful. Again, these are very brittle, but at this thickness they do pretty well. I don't know that I want to go any further. I think that's okay right now. We've got this nice feel here. I just bumped my cut paste. These two are sticking a little bit more straight up than I was anticipating. But I think we're okay. We're okay for the moment. These are young, we can move those later as well. We're going to leave this in this position and see if that can go ahead and form a new bond right there in that bent shape. So it's wrapped around the wire underneath here, and then I just twisted it here. And if I wanted to pull more, I would pull more, like right there, and I would go like this and give it a couple more spins. And with many branches, especially pines, popping back up after you lift them up, having more bend now can be good, and then it can kind of flow back out here and grow some branches. You know, if this even grows out this way, I have my two layers here. I got a pad out here and a pad out here, and maybe we'll get a branch out here. There's a little tiny bud right there that I don't know if I just clipped off with the leaf, but we could get more growth there as well. All right. Get some of these bottom ones off of here. There we go. All right. Again, I'm going to bring this back on the underside of this pot. We're going to twist on this side this time. See if I can get this to get a little bit smaller. Whoops. So there we go. Yeah. And if I go ahead and pull it down, pull it my way, pushing down with my left thumb, or finger rather, and twisting with my right side. Don't want to go into this bud too much. Go a tad more. There we go. Sure, why not? Here we have our tree. So major cut, 2 guy wires. Will that be too much stress on the tree? I think we're going to try it just a little bit. So this is going to be a little bit of an awkward wrap around here. because this one can then go, I probably should have gone around that trunk one more time, but we're going to go ahead and just try it this way. So there we have a little bit of wire on there. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a twist up and a little bit of a twist down like that. And then this one, we're going to give a little bit of a curve this way and continue the curve with this one up here. Right there, just a little bit. There we go. So that is the proposed front for now. We got this one going swooping down, this one guy wired down. We put this little wire on here. Actually, it's a pretty big wire. So those two branches here and here are looking a little close together. So it'd be nice if I could bend it a little bit further and this one a little bit further away. So let's do that. Let's see if I can do that without harming this tree. There, a little bit of a bend there. And that wire is not too terribly tight, so I don't think I'm cutting in too much. And that spreads that out a little bit more. I like how this one's curving up here, and then we've got this branch now here. You can follow the trail of this one, and we'll see what happens there. All right. Boy, it's a lot of work on this tree. We're going to give it some TLC here in the plant room and make sure it's happy. There is the Gmelina pruned up, guy wired up, and a little bit of branch wire to boot. I think we'll be okay. Now, this tree hasn't thickened up really fast. It just shoots out a lot of shoots. So we're going to have to keep an eye on these branches here and here to make sure that we don't have a whole bunch of cut in right here. But that's going to wrap it up. This was fun. Let's give it a final spin here. Here is the front. And we may have to plant it a little bit more this way, in the future. Remember, I talked about slanting it up. We'll spin it around. It's got a real weak side over here at the moment, but then this big branch over here is filling up some negative space on this side. And there you have it. And if that's not the front someday, could that be the front someday? There's the big scar. I think we still have options. And again, if this isn't the front, right here, the way the pot is, what if we go like that? Right there. We just twist it a little bit. Same with over here. If this was the front, why don't we go like that a little bit more, right? So there we have it. What fun. We're going to give this some TLC in the plant room, and I will, of course, give you updates on the Gmelina. But let's wrap it up. Hey, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we're going to catch you very soon on the next one.